Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, I can't express how grateful we are that you decided to listen, to fire up our podcast. But if you're also watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. It's season 4 of the Midtown Madness, and it's brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Pete, we've got a little bet going. Well, I do, with West Pine Bills. I've made a slight exception, and I have made a friendly wager on the Billikens finishing spot in the Atlantic 10, and it's the wager is over a few jars of Two Men in a Garden.
That sounds like a good reason to break your rules, Zach, which I believe is you don't bet on the Billikens.
I absolutely do not. It is
right.
I have enough emotional immaturity when it comes to Billiken sports that I don't need to add a financial impact to that situation. But Two Men in the Garden, they support this podcast. It's local. It tastes amazing. And they've got all the flavors to suit your individual salsa preferences. You can pick up their many products at local grocery stores or online at twomeninthegarden.com, which, if you're particular like your salsa, about your salsa as we are, that's where you want to go. That's where you can find all the flavors. Don't chance it going into the store. Go direct to them online. You can also follow them on social media and keep up with all updates, like putting pickles inside City Park, pickles on a stick. They're at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, I hate to do this to the listeners. And I wish I had something positive to kick this off with, but like this university that we love continues to just kind of like kick us in the balls.
Or at least they just can't get out of their own way sometimes.
No, they can't. So the homecoming weekend on a macro level, I thought was really well done. Really well done. I really liked the shirts they gave away that were kind of replica jerseys of the 73 soccer team. They honored them before the game, gave them customized jerseys. That was very cool. I thought the setup for homecoming was really nice. How they usually keep it in that they would put it in that grassy area, kind of over by McDonnell Douglas. In that area or around there. They moved it over to Marchetti's front parking lot. Which I thought was really cool, and they included the Laclede, the closed down Laclede, and all that. They had TVs out there. They had like sectionals almost sitting out there, and you could get beer and play games and stuff. And I thought it was great. However, the timing was a little tough this weekend with Chaifetz Arena also hosting Disney on Ice. And parking at Olive Compton for Disney on Ice is $25. That is preposterous, first of all. But you got to make money somehow. However, of course, going to the volleyball game Friday night, I checked the website prior to heading out, and explicitly they list Olive Compton Garage is free as long as you mention SLU Volleyball. So I get there, and the workers, the ticket takers, the money takers are already in kind of a meltdown mode. People are showing up for the volleyball game. They have no idea about this. And this is not the first time this has happened where they didn't know about a game that was happening. And by the way, it's homecoming weekend. How do we not know? But he's on about how ridiculous it is, and he's going to handle it. Call the boss, whatever. Basically, they weren't allowing anyone to park for free without being on the coaches and players list. So the head guy over at the parking structure, I don't know what his specific job title is, comes over. I'm showing him the screen of my phone, and he's like, "No, you got to pay it. I don't care what it says. You got to pay." I go, I'm not. I'm going to park here. Like, that's ridiculous. So he decides he's going to put a cone in front of my car to block my car from going in the garage, as if that matters more than the gate, but whatever. As he's whipping the cone out from behind the arm thing, he hits my car with the cone. And I get out of my car to look at my car, but I'm mad too. But I'm looking at my car. He goes, "Get back in your car, sir." And I'm like, "You hit my car." He goes, "I didn't hurt your car." I go, I don't care if you hurt my car. You hit my car." He goes, "It's not going to do anything. It's just a rubber cone." I go, "I don't care." Like, you hit, like, what in God's name?
So you're referring to, and
this is not athletic department. I don't know whose fault it is. First of all, I'll tell you what the fault is. It's a communication breakdown. However,
because you're referring to, they posted on the Billiken Athletics website at 10:10 in the morning on the day of the 23rd, right?
So that would have been so I'm talking on the 22nd. So if you look back at the women's volleyball,
Friday.
So you look at the women's volleyball, and you look at the press release for the set for home conference opener. I really hope it still says it. Fans may park for free in Olive Compton Garage or Little Cleed Garage. Okay, now it says by showing the voucher here. They added that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. It's
they
like,
added that.
I see this on the 23rd. I don't know where it was. Like, they must have updated it. Yeah. So that date that I just listed, or the time that I just listed, the 23rd at 10:10.
Yeah.
They had a voucher that you should flash at the garage.
They
I guess
added
that link was not there on the Friday night article.
Not as far as I saw. I believe it only said, I believe it says fans may park. What it said was fans may park for free in Olive Compton parking garage. I wonder if I screenshotted it. Because I feel like I'm going to look like a liar and or someone who doesn't read.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So I don't know if this is gonna.
No, it's okay. Yeah, there you can kind of see it now. Right. So it's not the same as the voucher that they had the next day.
Yes, it says fans may park for free in the Olive Compton parking garage. Simply alert the parking attendant that you're here for Billiken volleyball. That's what it says. I didn't get the whole screen, but it says simply alert.
I got to admit, like, even in my years where I was living in St. Louis and had season tickets there, or anytime I've gone back, I've never parked in Olive Compton. Like, not once. I always find street parking.
Yeah, I mean, like for basketball, I always find street parking.
Yeah,
it is like now when I had season tickets, like my family had season tickets, and they weren't just my season tickets, and someone else was footing the bill. Like, we had a parking pass, so I would park in Olive Compton. But since that, gravy train ended when I was in college, it's been street parking. But again, if you're gonna advertise so that I can park for free in Olive Compton, I'm gonna go park in Olive Compton, especially on a Friday when the game starts at 6.
Sure.
But yeah, I just like, first of all, dude, like, what, like, I mean, you gotta communicate. There's the athletic department and the general school. And the funniest part is I'm pulling up to this. Fred Postello is coming through that side door, where the gates are at Olive Compton, that main entrance.
Right.
He's coming up. He's walking up the stairs, hightailing it out of there.
Oh, really?
as this all like is about to go down, I'm dying. But yeah, I mean, luckily he didn't dent my car. That would have been a big problem. I've had enough car drama for a while. So
yes, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. You know what? Let's talk men's basketball. Because they released the schedule. And I really did. The schedule. I know a lot of people had issue with the schedule, but I took issue with like teasing the schedule, man. Like, it's so late. So late. Just release it. Don't, you like, fans are you like, this is my thing is the athletic department really feels like they know better than the fans at times.
And so you tweeted something and got a little pushback from people within the department.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, I don't know. Technically, I don't think Cam is really in the department. But I obviously TJ Hargrove didn't like it. He tweeted at me or tweeted at us. He tweeted out exactly what we'd heard, right? It was exactly what I heard. There are a couple games they needed to get signatures on contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. Like, I don't care that it's late. I really don't. We talked about this, right? I literally said I don't care. But when your schedule is that late, you don't tease it, man. Like, the fans are like, I just don't think, I don't think they take the fans seriously, and the fans and the frustration with the program seriously. And I think they think it's a joke.
So you're referring to some social media posts earlier in the day that was like kind of like, hey, we're going to release it this afternoon, and not in like, thanks for your patience, everyone. Here's what happened. We're going to release the whole thing this afternoon. Nothing like that.
Yeah, it was like calendar emoji, sunglasses face emoji, or something like that. And I'm just like, okay, just drop the damn schedule.
Right. Like, and we knew it was going to happen, 3 hours after we hit publish on our last episode too, because that always happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand, like, and again, it's an underwhelming schedule too. That adds into the frustration. But again, it's this thing like us against the world only works if your fans are with you against the world.
That's right.
Like, don't antagonize the fans. Like, you should be doing everything you can to make them want to renew their season tickets. I mean,
I think you've got to recognize the current disposition of the fan base, right? Like, they're not to be messed with right now. But should be as gentle with them, as positive with them, without being condescending or withholding or any of those things. Like, people are on edge. We really needed last season to go well, and it didn't. It blew up in our faces. And so don't get cute. Right. I guess is what I'm saying.
Meat and potatoes.
Like, just give us the information.
Meat and potatoes. Drop it. I liked what they did early on Friday morning, though. With the video of the practice, and they were working, and I like that kind of stuff. Like, I want to see legit. Again, I'm very much not flashy when it comes to my sports watching. Me personally, I can be a little loudmouth and flamboyant, and I get that. I know, shocking to everyone who listens to this show, but I like my sports teams to go about their business and win, and so I don't know.
Yeah,
it's definitely not the culture we are living in with social media and sports now. It's very much there's no long the soccer players don't all wear black Sambas anymore. It's very much an individualistic. Everybody's encouraged to be individualistic, and that's fine. But the full schedule was indeed announced. There are a few things we didn't officially know, Pete.
We didn't know officially that Dartmouth was going to be the last unannounced D1 opponent. We didn't know officially that we would have a lower division opponent on the regular season schedule. I mean, even though you and I kind of predicted that we probably would, given the amount of teams that were holding out for home dates and not all going to get them. So we wind up with Lincoln University from Jefferson City, Missouri, which is a D2 school. And then we've got two lower division exhibitions, which means no closed door scrimmage this year against a D1 team, which is something we've done in the past against Memphis a couple times. And I think we've done them against some Valley schools like Bradley, for example. I personally, Zach, am kind of neutral on that, whether we have a closed door scrimmage or an exhibition. I think what this means is we just weren't able to get enough games, right? So basically 3 of your 18 home dates are against lower division schools, because you're including those 2 exhibition games, which this season are both going to be Kentucky teams, Kentucky Wesleyan and Berea College, on October 24th and October 29th, before the regular season gets started. So we've got those. And then the game on November 8th that I mentioned against Lincoln, which I know some people have expressed a little frustration about that, Zach. Like, that's a lot of lower division flavor on the schedule for one season. I think people expect 2 exhibitions and then all D1 after that.
Yes. I mean, what are we
one
like?
and one, you know?
Yeah. I don't, I mean, are we playing Division I basketball or are we not? Like, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and look, we've talked a few times about the limitations they had this season and the fact that a lot of teams were struggling to get home dates, and we kind of had some things going against us this year, basically. But before that, the other things we didn't know: Utah State, we didn't have a date for that. That's going to be the 28th of November, and we've got dates for Dartmouth, Lincoln, and the exhibition. So it wasn't a lot of new information in the end that we still needed. It just wasn't super exciting information. And when you see the whole thing together, it's true that this is probably the weakest schedule in a while. I have mixed feelings about it. I for one, I've always been of the mindset, like, don't shy away from road games, play as tough a schedule as you possibly can. I've always been an advocate for that.
Especially if we're now a 1-bid league.
Yes, exactly, because we have such limited opportunities to gather signature wins, right? And really improve the metrics that actually matter for getting seeded for an NCAA tournament or getting into the NCAA tournament, honestly. So I'm a little mixed on that because this season we have such an unknown roster. We have a younger roster, a lot of guys who haven't played together before. So I don't hate the idea of them being the team that gets the weaker schedule. I just hope this isn't, the case moving forward, but I think there's a lot more that goes into it. So looking through the schedule, Zach, did you have, I don't know, just any other reactions other than what you've shared so far?
I do like Dartmouth as a snack, like, a throw in, right? Sure. I think anytime you need to throw in a team and you're not going to get a name, go grab an Ivy League.
Yeah.
Right? Grab an Ivy League because you're kind of looking at that, like, that A10 adjacent type school, I'm certainly not comparing Ivy League academics with A10 academics, but like, East Coast, a little more, East Coast private,
sure,
maybe higher academic standards, unless you go to VCU. Or Dayton for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like anytime we can throw in, and also I think with you, it's also a stylistic, you play Davidson later, right? Dartmouth's going to be similar, in makeup. Yeah, I like Dartmouth. I honestly didn't know about Kentucky. I didn't even see Kentucky Wesleyan or Berea. I didn't even see the names. I had no idea. Like, until you said that right now, I was like, wait, Berea. Brisket Berea. They took that off the menu at Mission Taco.
Berea it's kind of a cool school, actually. I think but
do they have a purple court?
I don't believe so. It's a small school in Kentucky that is of the town of the same name, but I don't know how they do it. I think it was just the way the school is structured and endowed and everything. Basically, it's tuition free for anybody who gets in. And so that gives them a really, diverse like student body. Yeah, maybe not that tough to get into, but at the same time, it's just a very culturally unique school. It was the vision for the school. It was always that anybody who can get in should be able to go. So it makes for a different kind of student body than you would expect in rural Kentucky. I actually have a friend who just built a house outside Berea, and his wife's from the town and everything. So kind of learned about it that way. But it's a nice little town and everything. But yeah, these are both Travis Ford country opponents, I guess you would call them.
Do you know what their mascot is, Pete, off the top of your head?
Oh, I looked it up. It's not, I don't remember it being super unique. I can't, no, I don't, I'm sorry. I don't remember. I did look it up.
Come on, give me a guess. Come on, make an educated guess here.
I don't think it's an animal. I don't know. Just give it to me.
It is the Bears.
Oh, all right. All right.
Unless they're not the Bears and they just have a bear mascot, because I can't find it anywhere.
Their actual mascot.
Yeah, like it doesn't
Oh,
say.
I'm sorry.
Like,
Yeah, they're the Mountaineers. They're the Mountaineers. That's what
oh,
they
are
are.
they? Okay.
Yeah.
Why is there a bear?
You gotta have a logo.
That's
There's
true.
bears in the mountains. Come on.
Oh, they are the Mountaineers. Son of a.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Got interesting.
Right. So anyway, a few more kind of just odds and ends on the schedule. I wanted to I laid it out on the calendar and just kind of thought like, how does this look different? Because we're coming out of a few years that have all been kind of impacted one way or another by COVID in terms of either what has happened throughout the season or kind of how we've scheduled a little more defensively, to give ourselves time. December, Zach, we only play 5 total games, which is pretty weird. There's a full week between Hofstra and Louisiana Tech, and then 2 full weeks between NC State and Loyola. I know Christmas is in there, but that seems like a pretty light month overall.
Yeah, but I'm excited they can't ruin Christmas for me.
The bummer for me is I'm going to be in the whole week leading up to Christmas, and we're at NC State that week. So I actually will not have a chance to see the men or the women the way that the schedule shook out. Lincoln, I would say, is not exactly a huge surprise, given that we talked about that we thought we were going to wind up with some more lower division games here. And then in terms of strength of schedule metrics, West Pine Bills did a nice job putting this together based on like their last year's metrics and kind of what their T rank is expected for this season. And like kind of how we thought, the numbers really don't bear out into, making this look like a very strong schedule. The average finish in the net last year for non-conference opponents was 149.7. And then the T rank, projected rank of non-conference opponents this year is 160.5, meaning that the teams that we're playing on the whole are expected to be a little weaker than they were last year, which kind of makes sense in some cases. I think like Charleston and Vermont will be a little bit weaker. I think like if you're looking through like Dartmouth, for example, their best player transferred out to Loyola. So there's just little things here and there that kind of make all the schedule a little bit weaker than it would have been had we played the same teams last year. And then the quad breakdown using T rank as their approximator. West Pine Bills said this probably gives us 0 quad 1 games, 2 for quad 2, and then 4 and 4 for quad 3 and quad 4. There is a potential for more in that Myrtle Beach Invitational, but that's really, that's kind of how it breaks down. Last year, the quad breakdown, we would have had 4 Q1 wins, 3 in Q2, 1 in Q3, and then 4 in the 4th quadrant. So it's just not a super tough schedule overall. Again, thanks to West Pine Bills for breaking it down. But yeah, the numbers more or less confirmed our suspicions.
Not great, Peter.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it, Zach. I mean, yeah. NC State, that's a return game from when they came to SLU with 9 players during the pandemic, right? And we actually beat them that time. So the return game got bumped back, and we couldn't wait any longer, right? They needed it to happen. It was the same with Carbondale. I think we were supposed to start the next home and home with them a year earlier, but had some other conflicts. So we moved the whole series back a year, played at home last season, and now we're going there this year. So that was a game that was supposed to be at least a year earlier. It may have been bumped twice, but I can't really remember. I know it was at least once. Drake was a neutral site game in Vegas. That got canceled 2 seasons ago, and we started a home and home at our place last season. So this is the return. And then we picked an MTE that has 3 games instead of 2, the Myrtle Beach Invitational, meaning the remaining games all had to be home games. We were completely boxed in by our commitments to that Myrtle Beach Invitational and the road games we had, no matter what. So we end up with not much to get excited about, and you really have to make compromises like a home and home that's going to take us to Illinois State next season, as opposed to somewhere our fans would probably actually want to go.
Yeah. Do you think they scheduled? I mean, how much of it was really truly boxed in and scheduling weaker because those were the teams that had it available that were willing to kind of work with us, or was it because we got burned in the net last year?
It certainly makes things tougher, right? Like if you're looking for a series, it's a lot easier to say, hey, we were a tournament team last year. We were a top 50 or 40 or 25, whatever we are, net team last year. That's really attractive to just about anybody because power conference teams are going to want there's not a lot of room for power conference teams anymore. Most of them have gone to 20 game schedules. They'll play neutral site marquee non-conference games, and then they'll play enough buy games to satisfy season ticket holder, 18 games. And that's it. Like they have almost no non-conference wiggle room. So if we're actually going to get a power conference home and home, we're going to have to be a really attractive opponent for them for one reason or another. And an A10 team that's floating around, the 100 mark in the net really doesn't do anything for anybody, especially when you lose all the guys, from last year. So I think in that regard, it makes it a lot harder, right? Like that's a harder sales pitch, I think.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the pull, right? And the push is we scheduled really hard last season. So yeah, back to, did we get burned by that? I mean, yeah, we did. We went for it. Like we had the opportunity last year. Had we actually won the games we scheduled in non-conference, more than just that Providence game, for example, we probably would have had a pretty good looking non-conference profile going into the A10. So there's also the fact that you're losing all those guys, and now you've got a bunch of fresh faces, and you don't want to throw the same schedule at them. So there's like both. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't, but maybe we don't actually want to because it just didn't work out. So maybe you just go with an easy schedule and hope to run the table in March in the A10.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Should probably cross both hands too.
Right.
Just for I don't know, man. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, especially because it came out after season ticket renewals.
Right.
If you have contract signed, just throw in. I mean, I know it's unorthodox, but or move ticket renewals back.
Yeah, I do wonder about that. I would love to talk to somebody in the ticket office. Like, how locked in are they on that calendar? Like, when do they absolutely have to have those commitments back by?
I mean, they don't have to print tickets.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. But at the same time, you want to give your season ticket holders something like, we don't have all our opponents yet, but you're going to get 18 games this year. And I don't know, or can you put the logo of a few of the teams that you signed contracts with in there?
Is it worth, I mean, what's the, I guess releasing the schedule, is a thing that they want to do. And it's social media content, and it's got to be a moment, but I don't know. It's really not a moment if the teams you're going to add are Berea College, Kentucky Wesleyan, and Lincoln. What does it matter at that point?
Yeah, and they know that we know the other ones, right, from other teams releasing their schedules. Like when Carbondale comes out with their schedule, Louisiana Tech, Hofstra, when they all release their schedules and people go, hey, we're on this team schedule, we've already kind of put most of it together, and they know that. They do. So yeah, that doesn't there's not a big reveal behind the curtain there.
Another interesting, maybe curious situation, not situation, but event was the naming of Rick Majerus Court, the dedication, Pete.
Yeah.
This confused a lot of people, I feel like, on social media, on Billikens.com. It sounds like this event was media invite only. It happened. What day did it happen on?
It was right before we recorded last week, right? I think it was last Friday.
Yeah.
So about, as you listen to this, about 10 days ago.
Yeah, so it was media invite only, plus the Majerus family, then no real advanced publicity, which I thought was weird. I understand it being private, and I understand that media invite only. And actually, I heard A friend of mine's brother got an invite, and I don't know why. Like, no, she doesn't know why.
Huh.
It's just she was just like it was weird. I don't know. He got invited. But yeah, I just don't really know. And even the post dedication publicity was very low key.
It was. Yeah,
What'd
and
you
we
think?
we were kind of confused about it last time, right? Because we were like, why don't you kind of hype this up to your fans before doing this? But do you think they only wanted it publicized after the fact? I mean, would this have been the department or the Majerus family? Because you did note here, Zach, that the coach that one of the coaches indicated in a Facebook post that a donation was made.
Yeah,
So the Majerus family gave something to make it happen, right? So
right. Which just
um,
seems kind of crazy that they had to donate. But hey, you know what? Donations make the world go round in St. Louis athletics.
I'm all for it if
Yeah,
that's one of the things that they wanted to do with whatever they have from Rick or whatever the foundation. I'm all for it. That's fine. But
totally.
I do wonder, was this like their request to do it this way? I have truly no idea. But it does have a lot of fans kind of scratching our heads, regardless.
It just seems like, I mean, it just seems like it's so easy to do. I don't know. It seems like something that would be important to a lot of fans that you're trying to keep on to uh, obviously we are kind of harkening back to the Majerus connection and the connection of those years. Whether it be intentional or unintentional with the return of Chris Harriman,
Mhm.
the addition of Rick Majerus Court. I mean, it just seems like this is, if you're going to try to get nostalgic like that, you got to sell the nostalgia.
Right.
You can't just do it and be like, "Hey guys, did you know we did this?" Like, you got to tell people.
You don't listen to Chris May's podcast, do you?
I do not.
So he had on.
I only listen to the number one Billiken podcast. Actually,
Actually, you
I don't
don't
even
do
listen.
that.
I don't
You
even
don't.
listen to ours.
I'm the
So
one who listens.
I
Yeah.
don't. That's my not listening to Chris May's podcast is not an indictment on Chris May's podcast. That's just that I don't listen. I don't.
So
Yeah, I don't know.
he had on a kind of an interesting combination of people. It was a Majerus family relative. It was his sister, I believe. It was Kevin Lish, and I want to say, who was the third? Was it Oberly? No. Give me a minute on the third, but
Let me pull it. I'll pull it up.
but anyway, it was they really didn't talk about the circumstances around it. They didn't talk about necessarily here's why we rolled it out this way, here's who was invited, anything like that. But it was so weird to me to hear Kevin Lish talking about this, right? Because he's back in St. Louis now, as we talked about before, and he had retired from playing and then coaching in Australia, moved his family back here, and he's going to give it a shot in the financial world. And anyway, they were all talking about how much Rick loved practice, and so like putting his name on the practice court is really what mattered because practice mattered to him so much more than games. And I like all of that. I think that's all great. It's the perfect honor to the man. Like he truly did really care, just want to practice and make guys better. But it was weird to me that it was Lish, right? Because one of the things, not necessarily so much when we talked to Kevin himself, but we've always heard about how Majerus was not great to Lish and Tommy and like the other holdovers from Soderbergh. And they could have transferred and they didn't. They stuck with Rick and he was tough on them. He would tell them like, you're not my guys. And it's crazy to me to think about because Lish and Tommy are like the gifts that Soderbergh left for you, right? Like those two, like what those are two really nice pieces to come in and build around. And it took Majerus a few years to do it, and it really wasn't around those two. They were just the kind of guys who bridged the gap for him. And I don't know. It was very strange to hear him talking. And he's the nicest guy in the world, right? We've had him on our show. We know how he is. He doesn't speak ill of anyone, no matter what Majerus would have said to him or anyone else around him or his family that was not kind. It was odd to me to have him and not somebody who was like someone Majerus recruited, right? And who played a full 4 years for him or something like that. So anyway, that surprised me. I did like that they all talked about how it was about the practice. It was all about practice for him, but it was short on the kind of details that we're asking about. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting. I see. Yeah, I don't really see anybody. I mean, I see the one major booster that everyone would pretty much recognize, whose name escapes me right now. I'm looking at the photo from the ceremony, but it's just interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't pretend to revolve in that world of donations or foundations or anything like that. So that's just so far off my radar. It's not even funny.
Yeah, for sure. Here we go. It was
it was Lori Hawk.
Yeah, of the Majerus Foundation, and then his sister. Okay, so that's why I couldn't remember who the second prize. For some reason, I thought it was somebody in the athletic department, but it was a week ago when I listened to it. So,
yeah,
anyway,
there was maybe from the photos, looks like there was like 6 rows of just seats, and that's it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Looks like. I mean, it really only looks like SLU staffers, some basketball players. I don't know, dude. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So anyway, I guess we should just move on to Jeremiah Johnson, who picked Oklahoma State over the Billikens and 3 others.
Yeah, we were in his finalists, his top 5, and it's not surprising he picked Oklahoma State. That's kind of what we were hearing on the rumor mill. I heard it from at least 2 different people. And it looked like it was going to be them all along, but hey, it's an honor just to be nominated, right?
This is one of those that like I don't. Again, that we came in late, we were a finalist, sure, but like, what's the point?
It kind of felt like he wanted a top 5 instead of a top 3 or 4, and I'm kind of the mindset of like, just put the schools that you're still really considering, that you're down to, right? Like, when you announce finalists, you're trying to quiet the noise. You're saying like, okay, I have found the schools I like, places I like, the staffs I like, the places that I think will help me succeed. I'm going to drown out all the other noise. Leave me alone. I'm focused now. And it always felt weird to be included here because like we said last week, we never really were. I don't know that we ever offered in a way that was like public, right? Like, I guess we did if he included us in his finalists and he's a 4-star top 150 player. But it was always odd to begin with. I was like really? Like, I knew we were kind of like showing interest at some point, but that's about it. And yeah, so he winds up going with the school that everybody assumed he would all along.
Andrell Burton Jr. Are we concerned we're losing out on players to Drake?
This is one where his list of finalists, SLU probably would have been considered the strongest program, right? Maybe along with Wichita State in there. They might have been there. That's the local school for him.
Talk about
a couple Valley schools, SIUE, Kansas City, Wyoming. Wyoming, I guess you could argue as well, is kind of more of a Mountain West kind of a peer level school, but yeah, I know people were like, this is not who we want to be in a group of finalists with. I don't know. Look, we offered back in July. I don't know the status of the offer in terms of it being committable or what. He certainly is a late bloomer, under the radar kind of guy. And like I said before, like that's guys like him are definitely being more undervalued than usual, given the focus on the portal and that the fact that there are still, extra players from the COVID bonus year floating around in the college ranks. So I don't doubt that this guy's a solid D1 prospect, but I just don't know if he's a guy that we're going to lose sleep over missing or not. So, wish him the best. I'm all right with it though.
The Billikens are in on Trent Noah, it seems like.
This is one I'm more excited about. He's a 6'7" kid. He's pretty, he's big. He can really shoot. I like his game a lot. And we're one of 8 finalists. But the other thing, Zach, is we're going to be his last official visit this weekend, basically the 28th. I guess that's what, Thursday, Friday. The other finalists here are Butler, Dayton, South Carolina, Stanford, Western Kentucky, Seton Hall, and Richmond. Butler and South Carolina have kind of come on strong lately. Those were his last 2 official visits. And I believe he's visited his entire list by now, with SLU being the last one. I actually don't know for sure that he went to Stanford, but I do know for sure he's taken official visits to the rest.
We know you did.
You no longer
you took that I did to Stanford, right?
His list of finalists is frighteningly similar to mine. Butler, Richmond, Stanford, SLU were all in my list of finalists as well, my top 7. So, I like the kid's got good taste. I did not get into Stanford, just to make that abundantly clear. Or else I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now.
I'm shocked you are anyway.
That was the reach. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Zach. No, but yeah, what can I say? He's got good taste, and we'll see what happens. Like, I was a little nervous when we first saw his it wasn't his top 8 that we saw. That's only been in the last week, but his official visit list, because we were the last one, and it's kind of scary sometimes to be the last one, because a lot of times guys commit before then and they just don't take the last 1 or 2 or 3. But luckily he's gone through all of them and hasn't committed yet. So unless he does in the next 4 days here, I think I think it'll be good to have him out on campus this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that bodes well then? I tend to think that bodes really well.
Look, I mean, some people are saying like it's a tough list to compete with when we clearly don't have the NIL bag that some of these other schools do, right? I mean, like we know the South Carolinas of the world have all the resources they want, and that's 2 Big East schools, a couple of which have missed on some guys so far. We've got 2 other A10 schools, Dayton and Richmond. We don't want to be losing out to those. Stanford's kind of a wild card given the conference situation and being a little weird, right now. But I guess there's some optimism going to the ACC. And then, there's Western Kentucky as well, which is an in-state school for him. It's the other side of the state. He's actually from Harlan County. And I know last time when we mentioned him and we were talking about the offer, Harlan County is like where like Justified is from.
I was going to say Harlan County sounds exactly like a TV show.
That's coal country. Harlan County, USA, the famous coal strike documentary. So he's from a really unique place for sure. But yeah, the fact that we're last and still going to get the visit, fingers crossed, nothing changes in the last 3 or 4 days here. But I actually kind of like our chances a little bit better than just being 1 out of 8, right? Call it 1 out of 4 or something like that. I think we have at least a shot here. It's going to be a matter of what the NIL number is from some of our bigger opponents here and how crucial that is to him. I don't have any gauge for that.
We do have some new offers out. One is a name that Billiken fans will recognize. But the first 2, but that one's in 27. The first 2 are 2026.
Yeah, and you're not going to recognize these names. Maybe the second one, if you really, really follow SLU recruiting. And
second one I recognized. That sounded very familiar.
Yeah,
so surprising.
Right, and we'll get into that. But the first one's Josiah Jervis, which is a pretty cool name. Archbishop Stepinac High School up in New York. And he plays his AAU ball with Whiz Kids, which is an Adidas circuit AAU team. Go Zach, what's up?
Owned by Wiz Khalifa?
I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that. So maybe
why you're going off.
But he's a big time scorer. He's got good size and good length. He's 6'5", and he's versatile at both ends. He can handle, pass it, but also guard a few different positions. He's a guard, but just a big guard. He's one of the top 2026 players out of New York, which is a good thing to be. He's also got offers already from Bonaventure, Fordham, St. John's, Iona, Manhattan, Hofstra. So we're the first one to kind of stretch that, the recruiting map out for him, but he's certainly well known around New York City and the surrounding area. The second one is a high school teammate of his, Hassan Qureshi, and he plays his AAU ball with PSA Cardinals, which is a Nike EYBL team that produced the likes of Hassan French, the last Hassan to play for them. He's a guard though. He's pretty crafty. He scores in a lot of ways. He's got a really nice, fully developed mid-range game, but he can get to the rim too. He switches hands, speeds, directions. Just a tough player to guard because he's smart and a little bit tricky with it. He's got a nice shot in deep range. And if you recognize the last name, his brother Suleiman played at Richmond. He didn't play a lot, but SLU actually did recruit him way back 4 or 5 years ago at this point, probably more like 5 years ago. And he has since transferred to Radford as a grad transfer. And then his other brother, Umar, plays for Jacksonville. The other offers that Hassan has right now are from Bonaventure, Iona, and Manhattan. So about half of the ones that have offered Jervis. But Zach, you were right. The 2027 name, it's our first offer for the class of 2027. And for those keeping score at home, these are incoming high school freshmen. So they've got to be pretty special. They've got to be pretty special if they're going to get an offer. This guy is named Jimmy McKinney III, which immediately when I read that, I was like, oh, Jimmy McKinney was Jimmy McKinney Jr. I forgot that. I always just thought of him as Jimmy McKinney, right? He was, I guess, a year younger than me, a class behind me. He would have been high school class of 02, if memory serves, out of Ashan High School, and then eventually Mizzou. So it's a pretty savvy offer for SLU, making him our first in the class. And Jimmy McKinney III, he also goes to Vashon. He plays his AAU ball for Brad Beal Elite. He does have an offer from Mizzou, and I think that came down a few weeks ago. And he got one from Jacksonville State back in middle school. So I don't know what the status of that one is. Every once in a while, you'll see a middle schooler get offered, but who knows? Anyway, he's super athletic. He's got big time scoring ability. He hasn't played in high school yet, so there's not a ton of film on him, which is probably a good thing. Let him develop first. And look, the bloodline is obviously at Mizzou, but I like it. I like the offer. And the little bit we did see from like the Ramey Fall League, he can really play. Like he's a legit prospect. He's not just a name that we're hoping has some magic left in it.
I'm trying to remember if April McKinney, who played at SLU for the women's team, was of that family. I can't remember. I don't recall. Yeah, and there's another player here you would like them to go offer.
Oh man. There's a 2027 player. I don't think we've mentioned him on the show yet, but Scotty Atkinson. Remember that name? He's at Webster Groves High School this year, and go watch them at least once this season. This kid is unbelievable to watch. Like he's great. Like he does not look like a freshman, a guy who's about to start his freshman year. And like he looks much more developed in his game. Like just a really impressive player. Like go watch Webster Groves play this season if you can. I'm sure they're going to be selling out a lot because he looks like a 5-star right now to me, and probably a top 25 or so player in that class. I haven't looked at rankings for that class yet, but he's going to be if he's not yet.
Local recruiting scene's not doing so well this time around.
No. Unfortunately, we've seen prep schools pick some players off. From the local scene. Are you talking about like it just feels like it's kind of a dry period locally?
Yeah, I mean, like top 100 is kind of barren.
Yeah, we're seeing guys go away to prep schools in some cases. And yeah, it's just down a little bit. But when I'm looking at these upcoming classes, I like 2025. I thought I liked 26 better, but then I started looking back at 25. Vashon, by the way, has like 4 or 5 D1 kids in the class of 25. So that school alone is worth looking at just for that class. And then 26 has a lot of good bigs. SLU has already offered a few. I like what's in 2026. So yeah, I would say the next 3 classes are going to be good, even though if 2024 might feel a little bit down compared to what we're used to coming out of St. Louis.
Pete, you know what I do love and I feel great about that comes out of St. Louis?
I think I know where you're going with this, Zach.
Give me your best guess.
I'm going to say salsa because I know how you feel about pickles.
I don't. I've never had a pickle, but I anticipate that I would not like them.
I don't understand people who are adults who have not had a very common food. I just don't know how that's even possible.
Well, there's many of those on my list. Two of them being, one of them being eggs, which I've never had, but I'm allergic to them.
I had a college roommate who had never had an egg.
Yeah, I've never had an egg.
We made fun of him ruthlessly for it. So
yeah, I
it's
prefer not
just
to
weird.
go into anaphylaxis. So
I mean, you can't have like baked
no,
goods.
no. So okay, so it's weird. Like it's odd. So I think I've narrowed it. Well, I know back when I was a kid, it was I think they did one of those tests, scratch test or whatever.
Sure, right.
And I think egg was there and milk was there. We knew milk because I had an episode
Yeah.
pretty early, pretty bad actually. But milk has come and gone. In that like I could eat ice cream for parts of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I could drink chocolate milk for parts of my life, but like, and now like, and if I think it's the whey protein because anytime I've tried a whey protein drink, I've blown up. And but you can like, I can have like a baked good. Yeah, I can have like cookies. As long as it's sometimes it'll be hit or miss, right? Like maybe the proteins aren't completely baked out. I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. But I just haven't had any inkling to even try again. So yeah.
I learned something new every episode.
I know. I'm like that hole in the ground in Batman Begins where he has to climb, or Dark Knight Rises where he has to climb out. It's just a giant hole of stupidity. That is me.
I won't blame a food allergy on stupidity.
No.
Not just flat out not eating a thing though your whole life and not even having the curiosity to try is not something I identify with. And I say this as someone who probably spent an hour and a half tonight trying to get a 4-year-old to eat her dinner.
Just get her some chicken nuggies.
It's awful, man. It's awful. Don't be picky eaters out there, kids.
Yes.
But if you're going to be picky about where you get your salsa and pickles from, because our friends at Two Men in a Garden have top of the line in both categories offerings for you. And Zach, I'm on their website right now, and I'm thrilled because
I feel like you have a tab up at all times on your computer.
Yeah, I should have they should have an Amazon feature where it's just like buy it again.
Yes.
But I have it open right now, and what I'm excited to say is the Cantina style is now available on the website. For the longest time, it wasn't, and I actually do really love that one. I wish they had it in hot. Hint, hint. If you guys are listening,
put our let's do that's what I've been saying, right? We should have we should get a signature flavor.
That would be great actually if we went down there. Like we're pitching something we have not talked to them about.
No,
we're just like
we're pitching it live.
We'll drive down to their facility. We'll taste some things. We'll come up with a heat level. We'll come up with a texture. We'll put Zach's photo on it if we have to really move some units.
Jesus, really going for the pity buy with that.
It'll work. But regardless, they have that on the website too now, and they have one other thing quietly that they added, and that is the smoky barbecue pickles, which I don't think I've had these yet. I've tried their smoky barbecue pickling pouch on some onions last year, and they turned out great. I'm going to do some more again soon, I think. They also have their bread and butter kickers on the website. I don't know if those were there before either, in the pickle variety. So there's a few new things out there right now. I'm actually, after we stop recording tonight, I'm going right there to put in an order. I'm getting low on salsa in the fridge right now. And yeah, I'm going to put in a nice big order with some of this new stuff on there that I've been talking about, so that in future ad reads, I can come back and let you guys know how good they are. So get on over to twomeninagarden.com, TWO, all spelled out, twomeninagarden.com. Check out the new stuff. Check out the stuff they've always had. And in the top left corner, it's still there, $9.99 nationwide shipping. If you're like me and you don't live locally, that is huge, given the way that shipping costs have gone up for everything lately. And if you are local, go pick up their stuff in any local supermarket. or specialty store, 2minuteagarden.com.
And also tell them that you want the collaboration cantina style. Tell them to get that going too.
Speak it into existence.
Speaking of sponsorships or partnerships, I wanted to circle back on the watch party. And as you said, I owe an apology. No, I'm kidding. I don't think I owe an apology, but I got some clarification on kind of the Dave and Buster's partnership. And I get, the limitations, right? So
Right.
The issue is that ESPN Plus is not an over the air. It's not an over the air broadcast.
Right.
And so you have to have the capability, and not everybody has capability. Like I talked about, I don't know if I've ever talked about the time SLU played Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament in women's soccer, and Fieldhouse said they were going to have the game on. And I was like on a Windows 98 computer in their office trying to pull up the stream.
Yeah. I think you got it though, right?
No. Well, barely. Like I got it, and then it just like the place caught on fire. The computer just was not having it.
Sure.
It would have barely run the old CSTV streams, which is a deep cut reference. But so I mean, I get it. The local places, have to have the capability, and they have to be able to pay. So yeah, I get it. And
right.
So it's, if Dave and Buster's is going to pony up some fat cash, why not?
Fair enough. I've already spoken my piece.
Yeah, no, I still don't love it, but like
I wish one of the campus adjacent bars would do it, I guess is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think I mean, they should get it going with a bunch of bars. Just be like, because what did they do? Like, remember in the Blues, this is a blues bar, or this bar bleeds blue, or whatever. Just get that going with all the bars. Just make, I don't know, but like, I think getting your logo in bars would be the best thing you could do. Like get a flag in there, make it a Billiken bar.
Right.
Yeah, just mess around.
Right.
Let's hit the women's basketball schedule.
Yes, let's.
It dropped. Is this technically late too? Are we going to complain too? Should we?
I don't know.
In the spirit of fairness,
this is where we have to kind of, admit our limitations or biases or whatever they are, just because there really just aren't as many, media personalities, or I don't know,
anybody
really talking that much about it. And if they are, we're just not seeing it. It's not hitting our radar. By all means, hit us up on Twitter and let us know who we need to follow for women's scheduling news. But I just haven't, there's just not that much buzz leading up to it. So it's just kind of like, here it is. And it came out the day after the men's on Tuesday, the 19th. Zach, last year we talked about how their schedule was an absolute gauntlet, right? Like they had that event down in Fort Myers where they started out against Baylor, and just about every team in that event was in the tournament last year, except for a couple. Really tough schedule through and through. This schedule here is pretty tough too, right? It's not quite like last season's. They don't have a Baylor, like a blue blood women's program, but they do have a pretty good schedule, and it's going to, I think, be a test even for a team that returns a lot of its key contributors from last year.
Yeah, I really like this Missouri State back to back.
Yeah,
the Sunday, Wednesday, and they're both home, which is nice. They got quite a bit of home games. I think Missouri S&T. Is that Division I now?
No, that's not. That's the exhibition, right?
Yeah. So it just doesn't say exhibition on the website.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, I mean Drake's. Missouri Valley women's basketball is good. So I like that Drake, Missouri State. Then they get to go to Hawaii, Pete.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I had to look up where this was because I'm not all that, I've never been to Hawaii, and I hadn't heard of this place. But it's in, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Laie.
That was what I would go with.
It's all vowels. It's Laie.
Well, technically, L is a consonant, but
Well,
Mr.
yeah,
Stanford,
but after
Mr.
that,
Stanford
sure.
visitor.
Well, I did. You see why I didn't get in. So that's basically the north shore of Oahu. So if Honolulu is kind of on the southwest side of Oahu, this is on the northeast side of it. And BYU actually has a campus up there, like a satellite campus, and I think that's where they're playing this at. So the other teams in this event are BYU, Wake Forest, and then Chaminade, which is a lower division school that's out in, I believe, Honolulu is where the school is. So that's a nice event and it should be a pretty amazing trip. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous, and I wish I had known too, right? Like, we've always talked about how cool it would be if the men play in the Maui Invitational, but here the women are going out to Oahu, so that's great for them. I think it's going to be a good competition. Like you said, that combination of Missouri State is solid. Mizzou was 57th in the net rankings last year. Missouri State was 112, but they were, probably one of the better teams in the Valley. They were a 20-win team. So look, they've got that legacy with like Jackie Stiles and being a really good women's program. Like, I know everybody in St. Louis remembers them for that. I do like that back to back. The other home games they've got, Zach, it looks like UIC, Ball State, Southern Indiana. So, not bad. Southern Indiana won't be, both the men and women play them. They're relatively new to D1, but they've got a lot of momentum. They were a powerhouse in D2. And then the other road games are Wichita State, Carbondale, Green Bay, and Illinois State. So a lot of regional Valley, Missouri Valley, Ohio Valley, Horizon kind of schools. But all in all, I would say it's a pretty solid schedule.
Interesting that Illinois Chicago doesn't have a logo. I thought that was good. Like, I thought that was another school that was like Illinois. I don't know, but it's UIC.
UIC Flames, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the way it is the schedule is not great on the website. But I'm not going to complain. Yeah, so I like it. I don't know. All I have is name recognition to go off of here.
Yeah. Just a few notes here. They have the Carbondale, Green Bay, and Illinois State games are all in a row in December. So they actually don't play a home game between December 6th and December 30th when their A10 home schedule kicks off against Rhode Island. We already went over their conference matchups a few shows ago for this coming season, and basically they're kind of treating SLU like a top tier team this year. UMass is the only strong team in the conference. They escaped playing twice, but they really play a lot of the top of the conference. And then the conference tournament is at Henrico, Virginia, which is basically the suburbs of Richmond. I don't know how to say it, but that's where the tournament is this year. They're not having it in that facility in Delaware again.
Yeah, I'm like, what is Chaffetz got planned for December? Good Lord.
I know. Yeah, because the men hardly play any games in December, and yeah, the women have that huge gap there over 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't like it, man. I mean, I know it's good for them. They get to go home, enjoy Christmas, but come on, let's see some basketball at home.
Well, I mean, honestly, for this team, they don't really get to go home a whole lot. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of road games. Like November 18th through the 21st, they're playing 3 games in Hawaii. And obviously, that's not going to be a 4-day trip or a 3-day trip. They're gonna want extra days out there, quite frankly. So after they start with the exhibition and 3 straight home games, they really only have 3 more non-conference home games after that. And it's November 26th, December 3rd, December 6th, but they've got 1 road game in there and then they go on the road for a while. So it's 7 games that they play away from Chaffetz. It's tough in that regard. They're going to be road tested.
I believe this will be the first visit by a Billiken sports program to Hawaii since 2009 volleyball. 2010 volleyball. I was the manager. The year I was the manager. I did not
get to go with them.
No, I did not.
Oh, man, of course I did not. Cool.
Yeah, I was not a traveling manager, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, your memory is better than mine. I don't know that either one of our basketball teams has ever gone out there. I'd have to look
Yeah.
that up.
Oh, yeah, they have.
We've played what
Well, a long time ago, but
in the Maui
90s.
Invitational?
Oh, no. But like we've talked, like I know
we played at Hawaii.
I know there are dudes that have visited Hawaii because we've talked. I've talked to at least one of them they've talked about like getting out in the ocean and being just the fish out of water stuff. I know there's been
yeah. Okay. All right. You're
there was
jogging
a
my memory now.
Doug Magelhaga story in there.
Yeah, that was Hawaii, right? So that would have been, was that late Soderbergh, early Majerus team that got out there?
Might have been a Romar team.
Really? A Romar team. Oh man. Okay. All right. It's shame on me for not remembering this. But
Or,
now that you're talking
Romar
about
or Spoon. I think it was Romar or Spoon.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Doug Mack was there when I was, and that was Romar and Soderbergh.
Oh, interesting.
But
he was there
find our
before,
historical opponents.
Yeah, I don't know where Henrico, Virginia is. So
yeah, it's Richmond, basically, just outside Richmond.
When are we gonna get the conference tournament here in St. Louis for basketball? What's up?
I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
No, it's not.
No.
Moving on to men's soccer. It was homecoming week, so we're gonna start off with men's soccer because the marquee matchup of the weekend was the homecoming soccer game. But first, they had Oral Roberts on Tuesday the 19th, Pete.
They did, Zach. And we won 1-0 here, but it took all the way until the 87th minute. So I don't.
Yeah.
You were at this game, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay. No. You didn't make this one. All right. I was watching this one, not super thrilled with what I was seeing, but I got to say this 87th minute goal from CJ Coppola, off a long Galen Flynn throw in, that was headed kind of in front of the net by Max Floriani. It looked like the Oral Roberts keeper was going to come up with it, but he never really got a handle on it. Like he kind of wound up on the ground, and so did Coppola. And Coppola just kind of flicked it in while he was laying down on his side. I don't know if I've seen that before.
I thought it could have got called for dangerous play.
Yeah, they didn't call it. I'm not sure how on the replay, like it's one of those like live, I assumed it would have been called for that, right? Like before the ball went in, I just expected to hear a whistle because when you see a player down next to the goalie, you just kind of call it dead. But the ball was loose the entire time, and there wasn't really that much contact between the goalie and anybody else. Certainly nothing that a SLU player initiated. So credit to Coppola for sticking with that and cleverly putting that one in.
I thought it was who else was there? Because I thought I didn't think it was Coppola. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, one of the three.
It's a tough.
Yeah, Coppola. I thought it was somebody else. Like there was somebody standing right there, and I thought it was that person, and then I realized that Coppola tipped it or poked it in, and Coppola was celebrating. I'm like, why is he celebrating? He didn't score that.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching on replay, it was definitely Coppola.
Right. Yeah. It was very weird live. It was, I don't know. I mean, SLU had some good chances, right? Like there was that late Seth Anderson shot went just wide from the far side. There was an early attempt from Coppola that went, basically right at a charging Oral Roberts goaltender. But unfortunately, Zach, SLU was outshot 14-6 in this one and 8-3 in shots on goal. It's the second game in a row that I haven't necessarily been super thrilled with how the shot statistics are coming up. It's one thing to just not like we talked about a guy that we expected to kind of be a pretty effective forward this season isn't playing this year, right? He's hurt, but we're just not creating shots. It's not finishing necessarily. We're just not creating. We're not getting enough opportunities, and that's kind of what concerns me.
Yeah, I don't know what it does. It doesn't seem like it's there's no purpose. Like you've said this before, there doesn't seem to be a plan going forward. I mean, there's a plan to possess the ball. There's a plan to, all these things, but not in the final third.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's been lacking this season. Corners were 2-2, fouls were 12-8, SLU had both yellows. Flynn had one in the 75th, and then Iverson in the 86th minute. Any other stray notes or observations from this one, Zach? I just for me, it's kind of what you said. We're kind of lacking in the finishing third.
Yeah, I dozed off right after Galen Flynn's cross.
Yeah.
That went harmlessly to the keeper, and I woke up to the end game screen. I just assumed we tied.
Yeah.
And went back to bed. And then I checked the score, or I checked Twitter in the morning. Oh, 1-0. All right. But yeah, the long throw. I called for the annexation of Puerto Rico. Kind of the same thing. Long throwing.
He pulled it off for you.
Yeah, I'm clandestinely running this team.
Yes.
No big deal. 2-1 win on homecoming versus Fordham on the 23rd. 20th minute, Christian Bundia gets a PK. Talked to a couple people, weren't necessarily convinced this was a PK. I don't know if you saw it on TV. What'd you think?
No, unfortunately, I didn't see this one live. But I'm just thrilled that we actually finished a PK, Zach, this year, because after watching us miss 2 down at Lipscomb, it was kind of like, is this going to be like that weird thing about a team this year that they just don't make PK? So I was happy that that's not officially going to be a thing this season. I didn't actually see the play that led to it, though, unfortunately.
58th minute, Daniel DiPolito, who I feel like he kills us. I think he was the guy that scored in the A10 final against us. I feel like the same guy.
Yeah, his name was definitely familiar.
Put in a header of a really nice cross deep into the box from Adrian Valentine. Pete, it was a little nervy when this one went in. You were just kind of like, oh man, come on. We score, we haven't been scoring, and we get a goal early and then give up that equalizer in the 58th minute. Luckily the Billikens got ahead in the 75th minute with a CJ Coppola goal from Carlos Leatherman. Put in a really nice through ball. Looked like Coppola had a good look and passed it up. It passed up to cross in for a shot, which was immediately deflected by a Fordham defender's leg. Took a crazy bounce up and over the Fordham keeper. Louis Lear of Fordham got the only red card in the 66th minute. This was a crunching 2-foot tackle.
Yeah.
I was hanging out in the corner of the stadium where they walk off, and I see Janet walking Louis Lear out of the stadium, which I wonder if he just does he just sit in the locker room by himself? Like that's,
I guess
when you go in, take a nap.
When you go in with your boots up like that, though, I mean, you need to go. You need to go sit and think about what you've done.
Yeah,
that was. You
go to the box for 2 minutes and you feel shame.
That's right.
Yeah, it was definitely deserved. The shots were 14-10 Billikens. The shots on goal were 7-3 Billikens. SLU had 3 corners to Fordham's 2. The Billikens fouled 16-10. In addition to that red card, there were a handful of yellow cards. A good performance by the Billikens. Fordham's always tough, and adversity, right? You're struggling to score, you get equalized, and then you come back and you regain the lead and win that game. It was nervy at the end, though, man. I believe Fordham had a shot at net late. That was a little after the whistle. God bless. No added time.
Yeah, for sure. That helps settle the nerves a little bit at the end of this one. But no, good crowd too. It was a homecoming game. And so it's for a team that has struggled to score this season, it's crucial to get that win in front of a homecoming crowd like that.
You know what? I didn't see I didn't see any of it at the stadium. I didn't see any Mizzou shirts. I was shocked, but I was so pleased. Well done, St. Louis University alumni.
Yes, thank you.
Obviously they would have been. Oh, and I was so glad that our game ended about 20 minutes before that game at the Dome ended.
Right.
By the way, I really, if you're gonna, don't root for Mizzou. Like to be good in anything. If you're a Billiken fan, it's dollars and eyes that they're winning every time they win. Like it doesn't matter if it's football or basketball. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's my 2 cents. And if you work for the university, you probably shouldn't at all. Anyway,
Yeah, I was not on social media much this weekend, but the little things I did see were people making about Mizzou, because we talked about last week how everybody
yeah,
was talking about Mizzou, but like this week it seemed like people were just making fun of the dome. And I don't that doesn't bother me as much.
no,
Like
we
if
can
the
make fun.
takeaway from Mizzou Memphis at the dome was the
They're never
dome
coming
sucks.
back.
Yeah, yeah. Then that's all right with me.
The dome is just like there's just like I literally when I went to the Battlehawks game, I went I was sitting in on the first level, and I went up to the top level to get a beer or get a drink, and it was
Hmm,
faster for me to go all the way up and come back down. There was no line up there because there was like one concession stand and like 800 people up there. It was
right.
awesome. But the dome's a mess. I mean, I'm not surprised we haven't seen any pictures of booze, like just pictures of beer cans circled around an overflowing trash can. Um,
It's weird too, because like my memories of it in the 90s and I guess early aughts are really like it was like the concourses felt like a mall, right? Like with the shiny floors and the bright lighting and everything, and the fact that everything was indoors. It was such a sterile environment, because I've been to games at Soldier Field and Lambeau Field and here in Cincinnati and a couple other places, and it's such a sterile environment for football. It was the like inside the game, if you had a full crowd and the Rams were actually like good, like the few seasons that they were unbelievably loud. It could get just incredibly loud in there. I mean, definitely a home field advantage, but it's very weird place. So it's weird for me to think that this place that was so like clean and bright and sterile is
it's
now everybody's talking about what a complete dump it is.
it's just clean and sterile. That's the point. It's just sterile. Like it's no longer clean. It's just sterile and boring. But
Right.
let's talk standings, Pete. Run us
Yeah.
down the men's soccer standings in the A10.
Yeah, oddly enough, Davidson's the only truly undefeated team at this point with a clean 2-0 record. And the next five behind them, Loyola, Duquesne, SLU, St. Joe's, VCU, all have one win and one tie. Fordham, Bonaventure, and Dayton are behind that with a win and a loss apiece. LaSalle has tied twice. Rhode Island's 0-1-1, and then UMass, George Washington, and George Mason are the three teams that have all lost twice.
Next up for the men's soccer team will be Wednesday the 27th versus Missouri State, and Saturday the 30th against Rhode Island. That'll be a tough test. Missouri State's very good this year. I believe they are top 15 at this point.
They've been really good for
Yeah,
quite a while now.
they're always
Yeah.
good. Pete, the women's soccer team, run us down the rankings.
Current RPI, same as last week. They're 29. In the coaches poll, they actually dropped out of the rankings this past week to 26th. If you look at like the also receiving votes, they were the top one of those, but they were 24th last week, which is odd because they went up from 18 to 14 in the top drawer soccer poll and up to 23 from 24 last week in the college soccer news poll. So mixed bag this year or this week in the rankings.
Yeah, they had Dayton this weekend. Today, well, yesterday, if you're listening to this on Monday, which you probably are, 1-1 tie in this one. Pete, run us down. We both watched this one pretty intently too.
We did. I probably wasn't as productive as I needed to be because I was logged in doing some work this afternoon.
It's the cup,
But in the
Pete.
it's the cup. It just means more.
It does.
Sophia Stram hit the post in the 24th minute. We had our third straight corner kick, and the Bills just couldn't put it away on this scrum in front of the net. 30th minute, Hannah Sawyer crossed up a defender on the wing and sent a shot off the crossbar. And at this point, Zach, you're just going, oh no. Really?
Mhm.
Like we've already put two off the woodwork in the first third of this game. That's not good. But in the 45th minute, Jordan Gary put a really nice ball deep into the box for Emily Gaby. She got a shot off as she was kind of taken down but Dayton's keeper, Batul Reda,
Right.
yeah, she made the point blank save. And so we went into halftime scoreless. It just, you hated that, right? Like so many great opportunities and just couldn't convert any of them. 52nd minutes where things switched though. Gaby won a ball from Alyssa Bacchius, who was impressive today, by the way. I thought she was good, out of the air, and then decided to just take it herself. She beat multiple UD defenders in the process, and not just with her speed, but she made a really nice kind of final move to give herself an open shot, put it right over the goalie. She had Hannah Larson over on the right, but Larson was offside, so Gaby was smart to keep it on that one. 58th minute, just 6 minutes after that, Dayton had their best chance of the game at that point, putting a shot to the left, from the left side past Percelli, but just wide. They had a charging player just outside the post and couldn't get a foot on it. Unfortunately, Zach, 70th minute, Dayton tied this one after a scramble in front of the box. SLU just could not clear this ball. It was so frustrating.
It seems like this is how the Billikens give up their goals every time.
Unbelievable. It's like watching my team, my young guys, these 6 and 7 year olds that I coach, they always run right in front of each other. And this kind of happened right here because Lindsay Heckel's trying to clear it and just hit it right off of Anna Lawler. Couldn't get it out of the box, and it bounced right to Diana Bonino, who put it away. Solid shot to the left side. And Percelli was nowhere near it. Dayton almost got another one 2 minutes later, by the way, when a local native, Maddie Bowman, who went to St. Joe's, put one just wide. By the way, she's a good-looking freshman player. I kind of wonder maybe that can be another A10 intra-conference transfer someday. Like just putting it out there.
Dayton soccer, the farm system for Billikens soccer.
I would love that. Would love that. Zach, run us down the stats in this one. It kind of disturbs me how much it looks like SLU dominated this game, and we wind up with one goal.
Yeah, before I get into stats, I really hated like the way we played a lot of this game. I thought it was just very nonchalant, very just not focused, not locked in. There were sloppy turnovers. There were just, I don't know who you're passing it to, disconnect somewhere. But I thought that, just not heads up play, not being smart. And I don't know, but shots on goal were 20-12 Billikens, shots on goal 8-7 Billikens, corners were 10-5 St. Louis. The Billikens fouled Dayton 13 times. Dayton fouled 9. No surprise there. The Billikens seem to, as noted by every damn commentator in the A10 or anywhere really, the Billikens like to foul Pete.
They're aggressive. They play an aggressive style, yes, that's for sure. Usually to their benefit. Sometimes, it gets away from them. I don't disagree with you at all, Zach. They were way too sloppy in this one. Way too casual with their passing in the first half. Like some of those turnovers they had were like early soccer fundamentals. Like you don't put that ball in that place from that position, and just giving up freebies. That really surprised me, quite honestly. So yeah, I didn't like that. I just thought they were a little loose in this one, a little sloppy. I guess I will say, like, these are the consensus top 2 teams in the league easily. Yeah. Dayton has been kind of fringe top 25 all season. SLU, as we know, has been ranked most of the season so far. So the league really, most people think it's going to come down to these two. I think UMass is probably the solid number 3. So this is the toughest team we're probably going to see in the conference this year. But at home, you got to get 3 points. Want that to be a win. You really want that to be a win. And the other factor here, Zach, is I think SLU has won the last 11 meetings with Dayton coming into this game. And if I heard that right, I think it was 11. And
you don't want to give them any confidence.
As Katie Shields said in our interview, or last time we talked with her, that it was kind of Dayton's conference before SLU really started to take over. And you didn't. I never wanted that streak to end. I mean, I hate Dayton, like we all know that. We both hate Dayton. But just frustrating not to be able to come away with a win in this one at home.
Yeah, I was annoyed. Looking at the standings, kind of a weird UMass 3-1, Dayton and Duquesne 2-0-2. SLU is alone at 2-0-1. Bonaventure and VCU are 2-1-1. LaSalle 2-1. St. Joe's 1-0-2. Loyola Chicago 1-1-2. Fordham is 1-1, tied 1 and lost 1. Mason's 1-2. Rhode Island is 0-1-2. George Washington and Davidson 0-3-1. And then Richmond is terrible at 0-4. Next up, Pete.
Yeah, Thursday the 28th at George Mason, who isn't very strong this year, and then October 1st, Sunday at VCU. So they're going to make that a long weekend out in the DC / Richmond, Virginia area, against two teams that they should take care of business. VCU's not bad, but George Mason is 1-10 overall. They are 1-2 in conference, but yeah, 1-10. So you got to win both of these games, and then come back home and take care of business.
Absolutely. Volleyball went 0-2 on the weekend at Chaffetz Pavilion versus VCU. The Billikens are dealing with the injury bug. Well, I guess just one real big one. Emily Henken was unavailable, and it sounds like it could be long-term. I think they're waiting on some test results. But we'll see how that shakes out. First match, 3-2 loss against VCU, 23-25, 15-25, 25-22, 25-16, and then 11-15, including a third set where the Billikens were up, I believe, 8-6. So tough one after clawing back. And I mean, VCU is not that good this year. That 2-0 is a death sentence for the match. It's not, anybody can come back on VCU this year. But Delaney Rice had 19 kills. Carly Rogers had 29 digs, second all time in digs. Had a bit of a tough weekend though. Trinity Luckett 7 blocks and Kate Opperly 27 assists.
Yeah, and then 3-3-1 was the score against VCU in the second match. 15-25, 25-20, 22-25, 21-25. Rice had 14 kills in this one. Opperly had 37 assists. Rogers 16 digs. Zach, did you get to both of these, or did you get to the first one?
I did get to both of these, and I am exhausted from going to 3 Billiken games in 2 days.
Yeah,
there is fitness, and then there is like doing activities fitness. Sure. And I don't have that second one anymore. Yeah, I got to both of these. It was a tough weekend. That second match, both matches really, you see just so many errors and errors compounding errors, where you'll have 2 service reception errors in a row, and you're like, you miss one, get focus, lock in, get this next one. And you just see that's where the Billikens really, draw, because when they pass well, they attack well. But quite often the passing is poor. And that will come with, better recruiting and just age, I guess, even. Delaney Rice, though, was outstanding all weekend. She's very slightly built, tall, but slender, but she's really sneaky athletic. She had 19 kills, as we mentioned, in that first match. I just thought she kind of had VCU's number the entire weekend. Carly Rogers, like I said, really tough weekend in service reception. But across the board, service reception for this team was not very good all weekend. Again, if you don't receive the serve well, you're pulling your setter away from the net, making it more difficult for them to set and more difficult for the attacker. Trinity Luckett is going to be a force. I know we talked with Andrea Beatty about her when she learns what she can really do. She's a very raw player. Apparently, from what I was told, she hadn't played club volleyball at a high level. So it seems like, but she seems like, we talked, or not seems like, but we talked with Beatty about how they're moving. They wanted to move Mattingly more on the outside. But with Trinity on the middle and being young and raw, she struggles to read that set. And if you have a deceptive setter, Trinity's often going the wrong way. or late to the block. I would love to see how she would play on the outside. But again, I really like Mattingly at the middle. I think Mattingly's fantastic. We just did not block well either. That was another issue. Like, you see, the blocking is where you get your, you go on your runs, because you can either serve tough or you can block. And the Billikens don't block, and they didn't really serve well either. So, that's really going to be a recipe for disaster. You're not going to get not recipe for disaster, but you're not going to get on those runs you need to pull away from teams. And they couldn't really do it other than when VCU would make mistakes. And also, I hate everybody on that VCU team and coaching staff now. Their head coach just has the most punchable face.
It's not like VCU to be obnoxious. So
No,
that surprises me.
I know.
They're normally, gracious and so likable.
People.
Right.
Next up, they'll play George Mason on Friday and Saturday, the 29th and 30th at Mason. Pete, the Billikens snuck in a field hockey game ahead of Tropical Storm Ophelia, which is funny because when I read that somebody said Ophelia as I was reading the notes today on TV. As I read the word Ophelia in these notes as I'm working.
Just like the name of a character in a show.
Yeah. It was so weird.
You'd love when that happens.
I know. Siri's listening.
Always.
Pete, run us down this field hockey match.
Yeah, it was a tough one, Zach. It was at Richmond, and it was Saturday the 23rd, like you said. It was a 5-2 loss is what it ended up being, and it was moved multiple times. They moved the time up, so it wound up being by a couple hours to beat Tropical Storm Ophelia.
This was an 8 a.m. start. No, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. I'm sorry, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. So basically 9 a.m. Central, right?
Yeah.
If you're traveling in the day before and everything. So the game, they got it in. It was played through steady rain and wind, but they did manage to get the whole thing in. Richmond scored the first 4 goals of the game. They got 1 in each of the first and second quarters. They got 2 in the third. And then SLU wasn't able to get 2 back until the fourth quarter. Richmond got 1 more right as the game ended. Demi Sauleka got the first one for the Bills on a penalty stroke. And then Sierra Larson scored 4 minutes later on a tap in behind the keeper, with Josefina Perez getting the assist. This was actually the largest losing margin of the season for SLU, which has otherwise kept every game really close, but they slide to 1-7 overall on the year in heartbreaking fashion, and 0-2 in the league. The best 1-7 team is kind of how I would frame this team. They just,
spin zone.
They're right there.
I watched it. It's just, this one was it's just not polished. Like, no, I don't know field hockey, but you watch it and it's just, you can just, there are so many just simple passes that go under sticks or go between sticks and legs. And the Billikens get penalty corners, but they don't convert them. They are very slow. You watched Richmond take a couple penalty corners, and I think they scored off 2 of them in this one. And it was, tap in the back of the net, and you're like, okay, right. This is a whole other level of field hockey. Right. Next up for the Billikens on the pitch will be St. Joe's on the 29th, and then at Long Island on Sunday, the 1st of October. Cross country, the next meet will be Loyola Lakefront Invitational on Friday the 29th. Got to see our boy Farol Ahmed get an update on the coffee. He said everything's unbelievable.
Great.
So yeah, he is absolutely killing it.
He's such an ambitious guy, man. He's all over LinkedIn, by the way. Every time I pop on a LinkedIn to respond to a message or whatever, I see him in the main feed posting something inspirational,
That's all LinkedIn's good for.
But good for him. He's, I'm glad to see him doing well. I should put in another order for my wife or something. I might
actually pop in to get some. I've never had coffee. I had one sip of iced coffee, but I might try it. I got to get some for my mom anyway. So
I don't know if I want you to be a coffee drinker. I don't like
Dude, you
too
do
much
understand.
caffeine with
You know, you do understand that me switching to coffee would be a decrease in caffeine.
Oh, is it all like Red Bull or whatever
No,
now or
it's
what?
a Ghost Energy drink. Sponsor the
Oh
podcast,
God.
please. Dude, it tastes way too good. I have an issue with like caffeine and alcohol. Wait, no, let me rephrase that. I have a problem with caffeine and no, let me rephrase that again. I think it's insane that we have gotten to the point where like if you want 200 milligrams of caffeine, you should have to suffer through the nuclear horse pee that is like Monster or Red Bull. You
Hmm.
should have to choke it down. Like if you want to get hammered, you should have to do a shot of like
You're saying it's
straight
too
liquor.
easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Like, come on. If you want to get the bad, like if you want to, smoke some cigarettes, like you got to take in the harsh buzz. You don't get the menthol. Come on now.
Straight to the unfiltered
Yeah,
Marlboro
you need to
Reds.
get you. Yeah. I just think we're making things too easy for people. Come on. You gotta get you gotta suffer to get the enjoyment out of it. Right.
All right. Well, then I have changed my mind. Now that I know that you drink all those weird energy drinks, I would say switch to coffee. Yeah, go for it.
All right. No, I'll give it a go. One final note, or couple notes here, Pete. As a heads up, we are aware that tennis and softball are playing fall competitions. We don't necessarily talk about them much unless it's something way out of the ordinary. Sat next to Coach Canoyer at the volleyball game for a hot minute, and then she moved away from me, and I can totally understand that move. But yeah, she was optimistic about the season. She said she'd like to repeat again, so repeat what they did last year. So good luck to them, Pete. You got something to talk about Hawaii? Are you going?
We left it hanging, Zach,
Sure.
and I just wanted to close the loop on this. I can't believe I forgot these, by the way. SLU did play at Hawaii
Yes,
in
it's the Stan Sheriff
2000, in December of 2000, right before New Year's, and they played there again right around Thanksgiving in 2005. And so the reason we actually played there also in 95, 96. Honolulu, yeah, so it was the University of Hawaii all three times in Honolulu. And then they came to SLU in December of 04. So that was a home and home. They came to SLU my senior year and beat us by one because everybody beat us that year. And then we went to Hawaii the next year. I remember thinking, oh, like we did this in the wrong order. But yeah, I can't believe I forgot that. So they basically played at Hawaii right before and right after I was at SLU, like literally the season before and the season after I was there. So Hawaii trip was never possible for me, unfortunately. So maybe that's why I blocked it out of my head.
And then the volleyball team did play in Hawaii in 2009. This schedule is preposterous. I just want to run this down because it is insane. This non-conference: Alabama, Miami, Ohio, Penn State, Hawaii, California, Texas.
Oh my God.
Cincinnati, Illinois. And then they played Wichita State in the NCAA tournament. They lost. I remember, they lost to Dayton in the final. I remember that. We were without Sally Warning that year. She had an injury. But I was the manager that year. Yeah. I didn't get my A10 championship rings.
Wow.
But yeah, no, that schedule was ridiculous. And then it was the year before that where they beat Stanford at home when they were number 2. But that
I guess when you do that, you get a little more leverage scheduling, right?
That Penn State game, hold on. The Penn State game was insane. I still have video from that game. It was number 1 Penn State. Son of a bitch. The box score is no longer up. Oh wait, no, I got it. Attendance was 6,106.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Alyssa DeRico, a name that we're familiar with, was one of the leaders in aces in that match for Penn State.
Amazing.
Yeah, funny. All right.
Well,
we went down a little bit of a winding path there at the end, but that'll do it for the week in Billiken Athletics. Make sure you're following us on all platforms. If you like, I lost half of my followers because I got hacked. So if you followed me personally, and you might want to check that if you care. If not, that's fine too. Also, if I unfollowed you, it wasn't me. So please don't hate me. But that's it for Billiken Athletics this week, I think. Thanks for listening again. Go Bills.
Go Bills.